The Farm Journal Legacy Project presents Leave a Legacy. And now, your host, Kevin Spafford.
Welcome to Leave a Legacy. Relevance, an important concept that speaks to the demand that we stay ahead, continue to grow, and maintain value. In growing a commodity, relevance is difficult. To remain so requires better methods, new technologies, or advanced farming practices. If this sounds like continuous improvement, it is. For a farm family, it may be the difference between failure and survival. For others, it may be the difference between getting by and thriving. For Dax and Karen, diverse ventures, creative ownership structures, and a variety of crops allow them to thrive in a challenging industry. From Durham, California, Clinton Griffiths will introduce us to the Kimmelshues.
The sights and sounds of this harvest are a far cry from the open fields of the Midwest. But for the Kimmelshue family in Durham, California, this land, this crop, and this work is where their legacy stands.
My ancestors seem to have itchy feet, didn't want to stay in one place too long, but I'm staying in California because can't keep going west. The ocean's out there, so anyway.
A family farm made up of roughly 250 acres growing English walnuts, almonds, and edible dry beans. But their history begins first on a farm in Maryland and then in Illinois.
My grandfather in the early 50s, I was going to say late 40s, but early 50s, had been visited California and had seen the farming. They had a dairy south of Chicago near Kankakee and Manteno, actually a small town. And he'd been out here, loved it out here, wasn't cold, and wasn't, he loved the climate and thought it's a better place to go.
And Northern California has been home ever since. Dax Kimmelshue runs the operation with his wife Karen, son Dustin, daughter Candace, and son-in-law Chris.
Kind of the number one grunt, I guess. I like to call myself. I kind of do a little bit of everything.
In their spare time, Candace and husband Chris take care of 55 ewes, raising lambs for local 4-H kids.
That's more a hobby at this point. I'd like to in the future kind of get it so it's more self-sustainable, maybe makes a little income too.
Back on the farm, the biggest help may be the location and rich soils that run beneath these massive trees.
We have a great clay loam soil, loam, little bit of clay, but mostly loam, but a little bit of clay, which deep soil, it goes down. There was a well drilled area in the soil, never changed 29 feet down. So they like this deep, well-drained loam soil to get these huge trees that produce big crops.
How and who owns that fertile ground is another unique aspect of the Kimmelshue operation. Dax owns some of it. His 3 brothers and 1 sister own the rest.
The family is fortunate in the fact that all the family members own a parcel of ground or some ground, and then Dax, who does an excellent job of farming, farms it for us.
They leave me alone, is what it is, pretty much. And I feel like I do a good job for them. I never hear any complaints, and we always strive to get top yields and top dollar if we can.
I think he's always had the knack for being more the horticulturalist and the growing and the end of it. And I think that's what he enjoys, and I think he does it better than the rest of us too.
These siblings may be off farm, but all of them still work in agriculture. From ag finance to commodity marketing to consulting on regulations, the bench of knowledge runs deep for Brother Dax.
I wouldn't call us experts, but we are out there in other parts of agriculture, and we understand other parts of agriculture that he may not be attuned to. And so, yeah, he's definitely got a benefit. In fact, that's a good point. Maybe we should start charging Dax for that. That's to charge our rent tax.
We consult, and I say, what do you guys think of this project? And, they'll give their input, and then we decide in which direction we're going to go.
And while Dax is running the farm, his team of siblings stand with him, not in rivalry to him.
It wasn't allowed when we were growing up, so if you didn't do it when you were growing up, why would you do it now?
So we're all involved in agriculture, but we've all kind of diversified. I joke around and say that I drive a tractor or help Dax out about twice a year just to remember why I'm not farming.
So far, it's a system that's working. especially as the farm transitions away from its traditional cash crop of almonds.
And now it's a situation where I would say it's on growth mode and maintenance mode, and it's a good situation.
As the trees in operation matures, there's hope in its future, support from its past, and respect for where it stands today. For Leave a Legacy, I'm Clinton Griffiths reporting.
With adult children and increasing capabilities, their operation continues to expand. Up next, I'll ask Dax and Karen about the blessings of a farming family.
Pioneer Hybrid proudly continues its legacy of supporting America's farm families by sponsoring the Farm Journal Legacy Project.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
More often than not, the best solutions are the simple ones. When it comes to corn refuge, simple is better. Simple is here. DuPont Pioneer revolutionized simple with the broadest lineup of refuge management products. Better choices. Make it simple. Refuge Simplified by DuPont Pioneer.
It's all about simplicity, so you don't have to work so hard, you know.
He does all the planting, and what he always complained about it with this refuge, it was so much work all the time.
I don't like planting a separate refuge.
It was my perfect opportunity to buy the right seed, so I didn't have to listen to him complain no more.
Anything simple, that's what I like. I'm Terry Erickson.
I'm Ed Erickson Jr., and we're from Milner, North Dakota.
It's so much easier. You're just having a good time while you're planting.
Simply Better Forage. Advanced agronomic and nutritional expertise. More efficient rations through industry-leading corn silage hybrids, alfalfa varieties, and inoculants. It's what you need to get more from your fields, and ultimately, more from your cows. That's Simply Better Forage. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
On this show, we spend a lot of time focused on the challenges of managing an operation and preparing the next generation. Though it's never as easy as it looks, for the Kimmelshues, it's one of the blessings in life. So how do we pass this on? You said, and I want to go back a little bit, you said we hope to pass this on to our kids. How do we do that?
Well, we're in the process of doing that. When Candace went away to college, we had no conception that she would be wanting to come back to farm with us. And her major to start out with was animal science. And so, who we thought maybe a vet, something like that. Then for her master's degree, she decided to go into soil science. And when she graduated, she actually got a job with another company for about 1.5 years. Wasn't really happy because she knew how her dad farmed, looking ahead 4 to 6 months to a year. And the company she was working for wasn't allowing her to do that. Whereas with Dax, she knows that's the way he farms. And with farming, that's what you have to do. And so I think I don't know if you'd call it by osmosis or by her working with her father, with our son, Dustin working with his father, Dax is passing on his knowledge to his children.
Does Candace, as she's watching you, is she visiting with your brothers about different things or going to other mentors or things like that? Or
right now she's in the learning stage. She was involved and knew the farming, but didn't know it like I did when I was growing up, because I was actually out there physically doing a lot of it with my dad and with my brothers. And she was involved, but not to the extent I was. So she's still picking up on stuff. She picks up on stuff very fast. She's good on equipment. I mean, as good as any guy I've ever hired. She's brought some new technology in that I'm having to learn with soil moisture sensors and weather stations. We've installed a series of weather stations through Climate Minder and soil moisture testers. And you can even, we have one sensor that can sense your nitrogen applications and how far you put it into the soil, because if you apply it through the sprinkler system, how far you want that down to be in the proper root zone. This is all new technology that I'm learning now from her. And so this is all new exciting things that the next generation is a little more technologically advanced that way than I am. So anyway, she's teaching me as well as me teaching her also.
You have 4 siblings.
4 siblings.
How did you become the farmer?
I don't know. I really don't know. I've always wanted to farm. Ever since I can remember, that's what I've wanted to do. Never had any ambitions to do anything else. Out of high school, I told my dad, I said, I'm gonna start farming. He said, no, you're not. He said, you're going to college and get a degree before you start farming, just in case you ever go broke, you'll have something to fall back on. And you could ask my brothers why they didn't push harder to do it too. Because at the time, we could have made it work, I imagine. It would have been tough, because you have good times and good times and bad times. Now is a good time in farming, at least for us right now, is good. But you also get, I always tell my brothers, I say, when we're really busy, like right now or in the spring or whatever we're doing, they don't hesitate to go play golf on Saturday morning. Well, I don't get that option. So I said, it's grass is always greener type thing, no matter work to do.
When we come back, I'll visit with Candace, her husband Chris, and brother Dustin, a next generation preparing to lead.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
At DuPont Pioneer, we're with you every step of the way. Our accelerated yield technology system combines agronomic and defensive traits with elite genetics. Planted on more acres than any other brand, Pioneer delivers total soybean performance.
It's tough out here. But so are Optimum Aquamax corn hybrids from DuPont Pioneer. Performance and productivity under drought stress. Hot enough for you? Optimum Aquamax hybrids deliver, rain or shine. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
It's easy to use. Your planting windows are so small in the spring. We're able to put it in the planter and plant out the field. We don't have to make sure the planter's empty to make sure we don't have any more refuge corn in the planter. Our corn is looking really good. That's a tough thing to say in a year like this. It's a family-run business. I've been farming all my life, been here. We were born and raised here. I'm Nels Kobush from Mobassa, Minnesota.
The best leaders are first the best followers. It's easy to see that Kimmelshue Orchards will continue long after Dax has retired to his shop. I'm going to visit with a stabilizing force in the operation, Dax's siblings, all of whom are inactive, yet intensely interested in success. You guys are unique. We've talked about how you get along, to be quite honest, how there is little or no sibling rivalry, or you've channeled it in the right way. What's the secret?
I don't know that there's a secret. It's more what's ingrained with us as we've been growing up, as we've grown up. We all worked on when my father farmed, we all worked. We didn't get paid or anything like that. It was just expected of us to work. And I think my thought anyway is that when we were assigned a task to do, the job for the day by my father, those of us that were working together figured out pretty quickly if we worked together as a team, got the job done, it was a lot easier than if we were trying to make a contest out of it or something like that. And that, I think, has transferred into our lives as we've moved away from the farm. And but we're still involved. We're still invested in the ground because we each own different parcels of land. But we've learned that we need to work together to make sure that everything goes well. And we all have specialties and areas that we're better suited for than the others, and we've figured that out over the years, I think, and it just works really well.
No, I think Mark's right. I mean, growing up as a family, we worked together, we went to church together, we ate meals together, we did everything together, and we all tended to get along at that point in time. Our parents pretty much insisted that we should get along, and I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just our upbringing, background.
How did they reinforce that?
Well, it was just basically common values of treating each other. We were not allowed to treat each other poorly, you know, and times were kind of tough when we were kids at times, and so everybody kind of had to get together and work together. There wasn't a lot of time to worry about whether, you know, his bedroom was better than mine, or he got to drive the tractor and I didn't, you know, that type of thing. We just worked together. So that was instilled in us. You know, it's kind of, you're just trying to repeat that with your own kids too. So yeah, it was just the way they raised us.
The way they raised us, and you still continue today. And there's very strong personalities here. And we're all invested, and it's highly emotional, but you make it work. Something, maybe it's a job we have to do, and we're doing it together. Mm-hmm. It's easier or better or more successful. Joel, Mark, Todd, thank you. Some might say, if you can't beat them, join them. For the Kimmelshues, it was never like that. But there was only room for one farmer in the family when Dad passed away. So they banded together and invested in the farm to support the operation. When we come back, join me for Kevin's Classroom. And later, I'll visit with Dax about farming, community service, and friendship.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
At DuPont Pioneer, we're with you every step of the way. Our accelerated yield technology system combines agronomic and defensive traits with elite genetics. Planted on more acres than any other brand, Pioneer delivers total soybean performance.
It's tough out here. But so are Optimum Aquamax corn hybrids from DuPont Pioneer. Performance and productivity under drought stress. Huh. Hot enough for you? Optimum Aquamax hybrids deliver, rain or shine. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
It's easy to use. Your planting windows are so small in the spring. We're able to put it in the planter and plant out the field. We don't have to make sure the planter's empty to make sure we don't have any more refuge corn in the planter. Our corn is looking really good. That's a tough thing to say in a year like this. It's a family-run business. I've been farming all my life, been here. We were born and raised here. I'm Nels Kobush from Mobassa, Minnesota.
Welcome to Kevin's Classroom. Advice, ideas, and helpful hints to guide you down the succession planning process.
Farmers may ask themselves, how much can I do on my own when it comes to succession planning? A successful transition can be a difficult road, requiring an investment of time, money, and effort. That's why we encourage a professional. Here's an action plan that may work for your farm. Select an advisor who will help to facilitate the process. That process should include ownership transition, financial security, leadership development, and estate tax goals. Even if you don't agree with all the steps, take another look. Even disagreement merits a second opinion. Over-communicate. Succession is a time to talk, listen, and visit about potential solutions. Understand that each year your plan will be reviewed and refined to meet your goals, so there's no reason not to start today.
For more useful tips from Kevin's Classroom, sign up for Legacy Moment, a free weekly email. Visit the Legacy Project page on agweb.com to register.
It's all about simplicity. So you don't have to work so hard, you know.
He does all the planting. And what he always complained about it with this refuge, it was so much work all the time.
I don't like planting a separate refuge.
It was my perfect opportunity to buy the right seed so I didn't have to listen to him complain no more.
Anything simple, that's what I like. I'm Terry Erickson.
I'm Ed Erickson Jr. and we're from Milner, North Dakota.
It's so much easier. And just having a good time while you're planting.
Simply Better Forage. Advanced agronomic and nutritional expertise. More efficient rations through industry-leading corn silage hybrids, alfalfa varieties, and inoculants. It's what you need to get more from your fields, and ultimately, more from your cows. That's Simply Better Forage. Only from DuPont Pioneer.
The things you need to protect don't always come with a timeline. If your personal goal is to make sure your family farm stays in the family, you need to know where to turn for advice. DuPont Pioneer proudly supports the Farm Journal Legacy Project, a valuable resource for your succession planning and your children's future. The family farm is alive and well. Pass it on.
More often than not, the best solutions are the simple ones. When it comes to corn refuge, simple is better. Simple is here. DuPont Pioneer revolutionized simple with the broadest lineup of refuge management products. Better choices. Make it simple. Refuge Simplified by DuPont Pioneer.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Pioneer Hybrid, helping you get the right product on the right acre. Science with service, delivering success.
There isn't a mold for leadership. Good examples come in all shapes and sizes. Leaders are as varied as the people they serve. I had a chance to visit with Dax about his passions for farming and serving others. How do you define success?
I think success is being happy with what you're doing, having a good family, a happy life overall, and then your job, as far as a job and a lifestyle. You know, some people have a job that they consider a lifestyle also. Farming is one of those. Being successful, I don't know, monetarily successful, I don't know what it is, but like the farmers, at least with me, if I'm real happy, feel I'm successful, I'm getting good yields, top yields. I don't feel so good if I'm not getting top yields. Price enters into it, but it doesn't seem to be quite as important to me as getting top yields. But yeah, if they both come around where you get good yields and good price, then you're successful. But I think it all comes together with family and being happy with who you are and what you're doing. It's also very important and successful.
So switching gears a little bit, but it's tied closely.
Mm-hmm.
What is leadership?
Being in a position where somebody asks you to do something, whether it's in farming on your own or you're on a supportive nonprofit or board of directors or whatever, you know, somebody asks you to step up and be a leader in that, be a president or a president of the board, chairman of the board. You do that sort of stuff. Whether you feel you're capable of not, it comes about, you know. And I'm one of the hardest critics of my own self in that way too, because in being a leader, I always question how good I am at that. And I you know, I'm not that good at telling people I'm not that good at being a leader.
But let me go back a little bit. So somebody has to ask you to be a leader?
No, you step up to it. And that's something that's instilled. That's something that's instilled to us when we were people. When we were kids, my parents said, you contribute back. You give back to the community, whether it's in something to do in Durham with an organization there, or whether it's something to do with agriculture, Farm Bureau, whatever it is. You step up and you give back because it's benefited us for generations. And so you give back to agriculture. There's some farmers that do that, some that I don't have time for that. I'm farming, I don't have time for that. Well, we're all farming. You just make time for that sort of thing.
So Dax the farmer.
Yeah.
Dax the father. Mm-hmm. Dax the community. You do community service.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're also doing helping Candace with the lambs.
Oh yeah.
We're doing a lot of things. How do you find time for all of that?
It always seems to work. I wonder sometimes how I find time for all that. You know, how am I going to get everything done? You know, and one of these, but it always seems to work. You surround yourself with a lot of good people too. I always say a good leader is surrounded with really good people helping him. You know, leadership is an employer or a farmer or a business owner. That is the same thing. You got good employees, you got good family working with you, employees working with you. It makes it streamlines it. If you have issues with employees, then it makes it that much tougher. And so it's surrounding yourself with good people.
So think in your mind who your most admired leader is, whether it's a good farmer, a business owner, a politician, an inventor. What kind of characteristics does that person have?
You know, somebody that's successful and has been successful. I know, and the first things that pop up into my mind are fellow farmers. You know, that I've observed over the years, and quite honestly, patterned my farming operation after my techniques after, because you see that they're successful in producing high yields and being involved other than farming out there in the community. I admire those type of people. And so I patterned mainly my farming operation and my life after that. And my father. My father is the greatest man I ever knew. And I miss him every day. But those are the people that instill in you what you are. You know, people like that you see. Other farmers right now that, you know, there's farmers that I'm friends with that do a good job, and then there's farmers that they're a step above, and you watch them, you watch what they do, and that's, you know, as far as you know, farming operation and that sort of thing. You learn that from them, you learn it from your parents. Yeah. So,
Dax, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Kimmelshues signify everything that is good in a farm family. Strong values and a giving spirit, appreciation and a willingness to work hard. Traits that carry from one generation to the next, not by genes, but rather by example. We started the show by referring to relevance. The relevance of a life may be measured in the values you share. Until next time, I'm Kevin Spafford, helping you to leave a legacy.